The gray sea rolls like a mouth that chews. The landing craft door snaps open, and Omaha Beach turns into a tunnel leading straight down into hell. Bullets hiss. Steel roars. Men drop before they can even say their own names. Then, through the smoke and the naval thunder, a strange sound tears the sky, not a plane, not ship guns. A black shadow slips past like a timekeeping error. You want to know what it is and what it will do to D-Day? Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next part. On the morning of June 6, 1944, the sea wind is as cold as a knife whipping your cheek, salty enough to burn your lips. Water reaches your waist. Each step drags boots heavy with mud and fear. The door opens, and the world shrinks to sand, water, and the blade of bullets. One man jolts up to grab air, then collapses as if he's been switched off. Another clings to a steel obstacle, thinking it's cover, but that cover only turns him into a target. Above, the cliffs and the pillboxes stare down like the eyes of a beast. Gun muzzles jut out like teeth, chewing away each meter of the beach. No one knows where to go. Stand up and die. Lie down and still die. Smoke seals the view, but the gunfire is clear, so clear you can hear your own heartbeat panicking in your throat. And then, right as everything is about to repeat, door opens. Rush down. Fall. The sky gives a roar that is nothing like the rest. It's not a piston engine. Not the familiar sound of propellers. It's a low metallic note, like a saw being dragged across the clouds. Inside the bunkers, a few German soldiers flinch, as if they've just heard a voice from a distant era. The black shadow circles over Omaha, cutting through the smoke, and in that moment, the whole beach looks up, as if it has just seen an answer no one dared to ask. This black shadow is not an iron bird from 1944. It hangs over the gun smoke like a tear in time. It's body armored, its sensor nose bent down toward the beach like a cold eye staring straight into hell. Its blades cut the wind into a deep, muffled roar, each rotation smearing away every familiar sound of this old war. When it slides past the cliff, paint and metal catch the light for a heartbeat, then vanish back into the smoke. Inside, the cockpit screens flare on. Thermal vision turns people into heat points, radar redraws the terrain, and the digital map sits empty, as if an entire century has been cut away. There are no blue-red symbols, no identification signals. The radio band returns only static, like the sea talking to itself. Offshore, a few ship guns unconsciously swing toward the strange shadow. One wrong order, and the sky becomes a blade. Down there is a beach full of heat points, Allied soldiers crawling and falling. Offshore, the Navy is hammering shells, and every blast makes the screen flicker with heat and dust. In that chaos, friend and foe no longer wear uniforms, they're just moving dots. One wrong squeeze of the trigger, and the stranger from the future becomes the murderer of the very men it means to save. The pilot tightens his grip, forcing himself to look harder. The pillboxes are cold, motionless masses, but their gun mouths, when they fire, flare into sharp, hot streaks again and again, steady, ruthless. That's the only sign that cannot be mistaken. He drops the nose, locks onto the fixed targets, and tells himself, you can't shoot like it's a game. You must shoot like it's surgery. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow for the next part of the story. His rule is nailed down instantly. Stop the fire that is killing people right now. Do not hunt men. Hunt muzzle flashes. On thermal, the sand glitters with heat points crawling flat to the ground. On the slope, sharp flickers blink in rhythm machine guns, sawing through every landing wave. He chooses fixed targets to avoid the unforgivable. Bunkers, gun pits, firing slits cut deep into concrete. He angles his run opposite the flow of the landing, keeps distance from the surf line, and maintains a steep downward shot, like a surgeon choosing the blade path. First lock. A concrete block spitting flame onto the beach. His finger tightens just enough. A Hellfire missile leaves the rail. A straight, clean streak. Impact. Concrete bulges. Then collapses as if strangled, and that gun goes dead. On the sand, a gap opens like a miracle. A few men lift their heads, as if they have just heard silence for the first time. Inside another bunker, German soldiers flinch, shouting into a field phone, but the answer is only confusion. He does not pause. Second lock, third. Each time, another tooth breaks out of the shoreline, but he reins in the rockets. He does not sweep. Below, Allied heat points cling together like ants trapped on wet glass. He fires only when he sees the repeating flare of a barrel, when he is sure this is the mouth that is killing them. Offshore, binoculars catch the impossible sight, and a few naval turrets drift toward the black shape by reflex. No one answers him on the radio. No code. No friend or foe convention. He is a voice that falls into 1944 and lands unheard. Every orbit, he asks the same question. What if they decide on the target? A burst rises close enough to slap the airframe. The helicopter shudders. On a ship's deck, an officer presses binoculars to his eye, his hand hovering over a firing order. Then he sees it clearly. The shadow is striking only at the guns that are firing, never raking the beach. He jerks a signal. Hold fire. The pilot speaks in action. He dips the nose and snaps the 30mm into the cliff face short, bright dots, carving a silent boundary. Then he throws rockets deeper inland, raising a slab of black smoke like a curtain dragged between the beach and the firing slits. On the ship, the officer watches the dotted line and the smoke screen and signals gunners to adjust onto it. A corridor appears. On the sand, the living suddenly have a lane to crawl, to rise, to sprint. A platoon leader, voice shredded, yanks men up and points into the gap. Now! He saves Hellfires for the hardest concrete strongpoints, still firing even after naval bombardment, and every missile leaves the rail straight, clean, final, as a sentence. One strong point goes quiet, then the next. Smoke pours from firing slits like a last breath, and the machine gun rhythm on the sand suddenly stutters. When the most rigid fangs are gone, he shifts to unguided rockets, but still refuses to spray. He lays them along trench lines, forcing defenders to duck. Then he drops lower and lets the 30mm work. Short, controlled strings cutting across exposed pits, shredding resupply movements. On the display, he hunts only what repeats. Gun fires, heat flare, fires again. Each time he sees that pattern, he presses the trigger for one measured breath, then stops. Below, the gap spreads like a crack in ice. Men begin to stand, to surge toward the seawall, a line that was impossible just minutes ago. In the bunkers still alive, panic spreads. They do not understand what is killing them. They only know the beach has stopped biting. On the screen, victory is in smoke. It's a number, and it's falling. The Hellfire alert flips to warning. The Hydra rocket count shortens by the minute. The 30mm belt drains like sand through fingers. And the fuel needle keeps sliding down quietly, while he still has to orbit, still has to dodge naval gunfire sweeping the shore. The countdown has begun, and it doesn't care how many people he just saved. It only counts. It doesn't wait. It doesn't ask permission. He looks down. Omaha Beach still has scattered gun emplacements, but the crawl line for the Allied soldiers now has a gap. If he stays, he can break a few more teeth. But if he leaves the rear undefended, German reinforcements will flood in and bite it all back. The choice is clear. Cut the throat first, then bandage the wound. He swings his nose inland, following faint roads in the dust, hunting for heat signatures moving in formation. This is where it's easiest to be wrong. Which vehicles are German? Which are his? On a morning when everything is smeared with mud, how can he be sure? He waits for the signs. Vehicles towing heavy guns, clusters of men around ammo boxes, a stop-shift-advance rhythm, steady as a machine. And most of all, their direction, driving straight toward the gunfire on the shore. When he's sure, he squeezes a short burst, knocking out the lead vehicle. Then he scatters a few rockets to cut off the tail, turning the column into a burning bottleneck. No pursuit. Just cutting the circuit. He turns back toward the sea, feeling the airframe tremble, a gentle reminder. In the cockpit, the fuel digits blink like a hurried breath. Time is running out. At Omaha, the miracle doesn't change the sound of the waves. It only changes the rhythm of death. When a few German bunkers fall silent earlier than they should have, the whole beach is like a noose that's been loosened. One last group gets over the seawall before the next machine gun burst sweeps in. A medic pulls a wounded man from the water's edge. A drenched radio still broadcasts the one sentence. We made it up. A small gap creates a large chain reaction. One platoon gets a hold on the slope, then a company gets its firepower up high, forcing the remaining gun positions to clamp shut just to stay alive. But don't mistake it, this isn't the end of the war. This is just a hand placed on the scales at the exact moment they're about to collapse. Beyond Omaha, there are other beaches, and a lone machine can't be everywhere. It can't conjure logistics from nothing. No fuel, no ammo, no spare parts, no way to communicate. June 6th will still be a long day, and the war will remain a grinding machine that runs on quantity, organization, and luck. Only this changes at Omaha. A few names didn't become headstones because a silent slice of time was bought with technology from the future. In a Normandy field, the helicopter lies still like an exhausted beast. Far away, artillery still explodes. History still rolls forward, not looking back. And the question still hangs in the air. If that moment truly happened, where would history first bend? Comment with your thoughts below, so I can write the next part in the direction you choose. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.